Welcome to our podcast, The Words That Make Us.
Consider this time with us as your excuse to take a break from everything.
Every episode, we choose a word that makes us think, wonder, or dream. We read a range of texts that explore different aspects of this word.
And we let our thoughts wander. We hope that yours will too. So grab your favourite tea.
Or a beer.
And join me, Rama
And me, Tony Bailey. Let's go!
So today's episode is about jealousy.
Hi Rama, can't believe it's finally holiday time.
Oh my goodness.
Get to have a break. I'm so jealous you're going on holiday. I've got to stay at home, got lots to do.
Is that why you're dressed in green today?
In green?
Hang on, let me take out my Fatima's hand, to ward off your evil eye.
Dare you pull out your Fatima's hand? What is your Fatima's hand? And then actually, I'm not sure. Am I jealous? I mean, I want you to go on holiday.
Yeah.
I'm probably envious if you're going on holiday. I'm not sure.
So you don't wish for me to break a leg or something so I can't
No
go?
more than usual. No more than usual. Yeah, so...
so is that envy or jealousy?
What?
What you're feeling now?
What I'm feeling now. Envy. I think it's envy. But I've been grappling with this since we came up with jealousy as the episode title. Exactly what's the difference between jealousy and envy? I've got some ideas myself.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
So I don't know. To be honest with you, I had always used the two terms interchangeably. Jealousy and envious. I thought if I had to transfer what I thought in Arabic to English, in Arabic, envy would be the scary one, the one that can harm others. You can have this evil eye and envy people, and then they can, end up having an accident or something bad happens to them. Jealousy is the more kind of like, is the less negative one. But that's the Arabic interpretation of the words. So when I came to actually look up the English words, I was really surprised by some of the definitions, because it seems that linguists can't agree on the difference between
Absolutely.
the two.
That's what I found.
It was really, really confusing. So let me read to you some definitions.
Yeah.
So what does it say here? This one is from dictionary.com, and it says, what is the difference between jealousy and envy? Can they be used interchangeably? Jealousy and envy both involve a feeling of desire for what another person has, but jealousy is usually thought to be more negative, which is interesting.
Yes.
It often involves resentment towards the other person. Envy is also a negative feeling, like a mix of admiration and discontent, but the word doesn't usually imply hostility. Another difference is that envy can be used as both a noun and a verb. So I was like, okay, I thought envy was the more negative one, but apparently jealousy is, according to dictionary.com.
Yeah.
And then I went and looked at another website. It's called Very Well Mind. And it says, most people use the words envy and jealousy interchangeably. For instance, someone may say they are jealous of their friend's financial situation, like you are jealous of my holiday.
Yes.
Another person may talk about being envious that their spouse's new trainer is a fitness model. However, envy involves wanting what someone else has, and jealousy involves feeling threatened that someone will take away something you have. Yeah. Therefore, in these situations, their use is actually incorrect and technically should be switched around. Psychologists have long since agreed that envy and jealousy are distinct emotions, which really surprised me.
So, okay, how do I feel about that?
Let me read to you the last definition.
Yeah.
And then you can tell me how you feel about that. Because then I went to Merriam-Webster.
Okay.
And they had something to say about that as well. So they said, is this Merriam-Webster? Yeah, this is weird. Okay, because there's dictionary.com. Maybe I won't read that one. I'll read the Merriam-Webster. While many people believe that jealous means fearing someone will take what you have, and envious means desiring that someone else has, historical usage shows that both mean covetous. and are interchangeable when describing desiring someone else's possessions. However, when referring to the romantic feelings, only jealous can be used to mean possessively suspicious, as in a jealous husband.
Okay. So I'm going to proffer a mathematical solution to this. So if we draw a Venn diagram, two circles, they overlap. Envy is one of the circles. Jealousy is the other. Where they overlap, I understand that to mean covetousness.
Okay.
Covetousness is where envy and jealousy can be used interchangeably.
Exactly.
Which is kind of, I feel like, 80% of the time.
Yes.
You can say, I envy you having that lunch, or I'm jealous of you having that lunch. They both, in that context, they fit fine.
Yeah.
Whereas envy can be used in a more lighter way. So there are, there are specific uses of envy, and jealous is the bits where it really does have an impact on your behaviour, because it's where you are so envious that you begin to have very negative thoughts about the person who either possesses what you want, or you have very negative thoughts about yourself and the fact that you don't have it. So it's like like on a sliding scale. That seems to work for me, because I think most daily usage, I would put the two are sort of interchangeable, aren't they? But if I was talking about my relationships, that's where the word jealousy would...
Only the word jealousy applies.
Yeah, only the word jealousy applies in those kind of cases. What's really interesting, though, just saying about, you'd seen, envy being the most significant. I mean, that's what's... I mean, the Bible, envy is one of the seven deadly sins.
Exactly, yeah.
Not jealousy.
Yeah, it's interesting. And even though, exactly. So it's really confusing. And as I said, like, I looked at 4 different websites and they all had different understandings.
But do you think this is just, you're more of a scholar of language than I am. Do you think this is just that words have their day? And if, the Bible uses the word covet.
Yeah.
It uses the word envy, but it very rarely uses the word jealousy. And this is really to do with translation, I guess.
Exactly, I was going to say that.
At what point did jealousy become a word that we would use rather than envy, rather than covet? Maybe it's purely that.
Exactly, English doesn't really correspond to the other languages. What was it written in Aramaic originally? Yeah. And then like Latin, and it went through so many layers until it reached English. And so... God only knows, no pun intended.
Although, covet, the word covet is a Bible word. People don't use that word in general anymore. Parlance anymore, really. It's been, maybe it's in the Bible to express that. It is that the negative part of envy and jealousy is coveting, and that's a sin. Yeah. It's interesting.
You know what I find interesting as well is that I find that English falls short here, where there is one emotion that there's no word for in English. Yeah. And that is something that you can say in Arabic. You can say أغبطك, or you can say it in German, which is das gönne ich dir. And that means that I am happy for you to have this thing. Like, also, it means I might wish to have it, but I'm really happy that you have it. And that's the best thing ever. So if, for example, if you were happy for me that I'm going to Malta next week, you would say, I'm happy for you that you could go. I wish I could go too, or I wish I had that as well. But there's no one word in English to say that.
That's really interesting. I'm trying to think. I was trying to challenge you to see, could I come back and say, yes, there is. Yeah. But I can't think of anything.
No, there isn't.
And there's even a connotation to, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound... Thinking of last week, authentic.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. Means I'm not really that happy for you. In fact, I'm really envious or jealous.
Or it means that I'm happy for you, but that's not my thing. Whereas this one expression that I'm talking about means I would like to have it, but I'm totally happy for you to have it, and it's really from the heart, Ich gönne dir das, or أغبطك, which means it's a very interesting word.
I'd love it, but I prefer you to have it.
Or I would like to have it too. If I could have it too, I would like that. But if you have it, I'm so happy for you.
How interesting.
Yeah. So that's where English sometimes I feel like, I wish English had this one word that would say so much.
So it's why did you want me to dress in green then? What's the background to that?
Because don't they say this is the green-eyed monster? And
Good old Shakespeare.
Good old Shakespeare.
Very famous quote.
Yeah.
Yes. And linked to that, I guess, being green with envy.
Green with envy, exactly.
Colour green crops up.
And he coined that term, actually.
You know, think so? I'm going to challenge you on
Are
that.
you?
Yeah. Should we have the Shakespeare quote, though? Because it's a really good one.
Which one are you going to use? The one from The Merchant of Venice or the one from Othello?
Othello is the famous one, isn't it?
Yeah, because in The Merchant of Venice, apparently he said, the green-eyed jealousy, he said. And then in Othello, he changed it to green-eyed monster.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
And that's, I think, the term that he coined.
Yeah.
And then you can tell me if you don't agree with that or what you found.
Let's have that quote because it's a good one. The Othello one.
So in Othello, Iago speaks to Othello, and he says, "Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth muck the meat it feeds on. That cuckold lives in bliss, who certain of his fate loves not his wronger, but oh, what damned minutes tells he o'er, who dotes yet doubts, suspects yet strongly loves."
Yes. I really like it. Why green-eyed? Mm-hmm. Why green-eyed? Why do you think it's a green-eyed monster?
I am guessing here. Or maybe that's something I studied a long time ago. And this is not something we have in Arabic, but I know that maybe green is linked to bile.
Yeah.
Is it? Is that why?
So my reading of research, I'm not saying what I've researched is any better than what you did. I read that it originates from bile. Mm-hmm. So, and actually, in Greek literature, that imagery of green is used also to. So in Ovid's Metamorphoses is the personification of envy, and when she sees beautiful Minerva, a hoard of gall her inward parts possessed, and spread a greenness o'er her cankered breast.
That's so interesting.
So well before Shakespeare came up with the phrase green-eyed monster, that people then believe was the catalyst for the term green with envy. But green with envy wasn't actually used for quite some time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't used by Shakespeare. This was the green-eyed monster.
Exactly, that's what he coined, but not the concept of green.
Yeah. But what do you think Shakespeare is referring to when he talks about the green-eyed monster? It's interesting because it's not bile, or at least theory is it's not bile. Green is a colour for envy, yes, but the green-eyed monster.
Yeah.
I really like this if this is true.
Okay.
Because the theory is that Shakespeare was imagining jealousy like a cat.
Oh.
A cat, a green-eyed monster playing with a mouse or playing with its meat.
Okay.
So I quite like that imagery.
I didn't know that.
This gives us a picture of jealousy tormenting the mind of the jealous man or jealous woman. Is akin to playing with the meat before you eat it.
Okay.
So,
But like he said here, it's like you're actually toying with your own self.
Yes, yeah. So, playing with your own mind, being devoured by all of these suspicions and jealousies before it consumes you completely. And he also used that image of the mouse in The Rape of Lucrece. Yet foul night-waking cat, he doth but dally, while in his hold fast foot the weak mouse panteth, her sad behaviour feeds his vulture folly. So it's kind of a clearly an image that he liked, that sort of the cat. And he used the green-eyed thing, I think you mentioned it before, in The Merchant of Venice, before Othello, as doubtful thoughts and rash embraced despair and shuddering fear and green-eyed jealousy. So it's all beautiful. All of these things sort of make great sense, don't they?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that when you come to my culture, for example, green is a great thing.
Yes.
So, for example, there's a funny thing. If you have an older woman or an older man who still want to be coupled, they're
Yes.
still, they still have some desire in them.
Yeah.
They say they have a green spirit.
Yes.
So my grandmother has a green spirit. She still fancies.
Interesting.
men.
That'd be a good podcast anyway, wouldn't it? Just to look at the way that colours have been used to express different feelings.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, green can mean naive. He's still very green.
Oh,
still
okay.
very green, immature,
I
sort
see.
of.
But also, what about green thumb?
What is that green thumb? Green fingered, you mean?
No, huh?
Green fingered
What's the word for somebody who's good at gardening?
Yeah, green fingered.
Green fingered.
Yeah, she's got green fingers.
I thought it was a green thumb. Okay.
Well, maybe it is in another culture, but
I'm mixing up German and English.
yeah.
That's the problem when you learn more than...
You took a Daumen across my fingers.
Or the grüne Daumen. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Okay, green fingered. Yeah.
So, green across... I looked up whether this phrase, green with envy, was just, a British, English, whatever. But no, it's across a huge number of cultures, that same phrase, green with envy, jealousy being green. I did like the fact that in the Philippines, green isn't just associated with jealousy, but it's also associated with sexual thoughts.
See, maybe that's how we have it in at least in Syria, where they say my grandmother's or my grandfather has a green spirit. Maybe that's what it.
Maybe. So if you go to a green movie in the Philippines, that's
porn?
That's the same as going to a blue movie in English, which is a porn movie. And if you're described as being green-minded, so it's quite interesting, isn't it? We've
Good for the environment.
We've just had Green Week.
Yeah.
Green Week in school with lots of green-minded people, which would be very confusing to somebody from the Philippines, because if you're green-minded, it means you're always thinking about sex.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I hope that there were no students from the Philippines going home and saying, "Oh, it's green-minded week."
Now I'm green-minded. I've been.
Yeah, we
convinced.
spent all day watching green movies. It was great. Are you naturally a jealous person, Rama, or have you been, or do you feel yourself becoming more?
I am becoming more jealous than I used to be.
Really?
Yeah, I used to be quite nonchalant. I used to not care much about what other people had or achieved, or even I didn't have that possessive feeling about someone I loved. And it's becoming worse. I have no idea where this is coming from. Like, especially the thing with, sometimes I'm jealous. Now, here's the thing. In Arabic, we say jealous over someone means that you have this possessive feeling, and jealous of someone would mean that you want what they have. So that's the distinction we make in Arabic.
Okay, just to clarify. So you're jealous of me because of something I've got that you want.
Exactly.
But you're jealous over a person that you feel you have some possession of.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that's
that
really
makes sense.
confusing to me. I have to be careful not to, So anyway, this possessiveness of others, like the people that I love, is now becoming worse. It was not like that before. Children or loved one or something like that. So it's interesting. And I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing.
Jealousy is one of those characteristics that I don't think many people would happily admit
that they have it.
I like this, I do this, and I'm full of jealousy all the time. It's kind of a little bit shameful, do you think?
Yeah, there is something in it that shows.
There's a guilt associated with it because you maybe it's not completely rational or fair, do you think?
I think there's something in it that admits that you're missing something. And that's why you're jealous.
Yes.
That means there's insecurity in you. And that's why you feel like, ooh, why do I have this car? I wish I had this car. Whereas there's some kind of nobility in saying, I'm never jealous. I'm very satisfied with everything I have. Yeah. And you can do whatever you want. And it's interesting that for me, instead of getting better in that regard, I'm becoming worse. Not to say that I covet anybody's anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes I go like, oh, she can run. I can't run. I'm quite jealous. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like I would like her to be paralyzed so I can run. It's not like that at all. But yeah.
Do you have you heard of the Othello complex?
No.
So this came out of my my research, the Othello Syndrome, because it kind of shows you where this can go to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So the Othello Syndrome, based on the fact that Shakespeare coined the phrase
Mm-hmm.
green-eyed monster. So there is a medical condition called Othello Syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
which causes delusional jealousy.
Oh.
To the extent that there's a case here of a woman called Debbie Woods.
Mm-hmm.
She's called Debbie Woods not because she's married to her husband, Steve Woods. No, she took the name Woods in advance because she assumed that she was going to get married to him.
Oh my God.
So she changed her name to his name.
Okay, that's a bit creepy.
It is yes. She checks all of Steve's phone, email, and bank statements. He's forbidden from looking at pictures of women in magazines. She changed her surname in anticipation of marrying him. He has to take a lie detector test to prove that he's been faithful every time he leaves the house.
Oh my goodness.
This is complete
Bonkers.
paranoia.
Yeah.
But doctors have discovered that she is suffering from this medical condition, the Othello Syndrome, which causes sufferers to believe their partners have been unfaithful even without
Proof
evidence.
or reason to think that.
Yeah.
Oh dear me.
So have you ever felt anything even close to the Othello Syndrome?
So let me tell you. It's interesting and a little, yeah. In my previous relationship, I never had an ounce of jealousy. I was like, yep,
Okay.
yeah, even when we had a playful kind of conversation, it's like, what if I go and look at other women? I'm like, fine, totally fine. This is changing now, and I am a bit, I don't know, I find is this a sign of
You
me?
look at another woman, I kill you.
I kill you. No, I don't. No, I would never go that extreme. But I think a bit of jealousy shows maybe that you care.
Yes.
That there is some kind of like, but you're mine. And this other person would be a bit flattered. I hope or I think. Anyway, Maya Angelou here says something which I find really interesting. She says, jealousy in romance is like salt in food.
Oh, yes.
A little can enhance the saviour, but too much can spoil the pleasure.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly...
That's exactly right, isn't it?
Yeah. Like
if you're in a relationship
yeah.
and you were flirting with another man, wouldn't part of the reason for doing that to be to elicit this feeling of jealousy in your partner?
Yeah.
Just enough to season the dish.
Season the dish is the way it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, whereas if you're doing it without your partner knowing, illicitly,
you wouldn't do it.
You're not doing it to create the jealousy. You're doing it because of for other reasons.
You're unfaithful or something.
Unfaithful or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think, that sort of being a bit flirty or being a bit familiar is a way kind of reminding...
Yes, of your worth.
Your partner of your worth and their worth as well, I guess. So there is a case, isn't there, that a little bit of jealousy might be good for you?
A friend of mine was really upset that when she mentioned in front of her husband that she was invited to somebody's house, she said, this colleague of mine, and she kind of told him before that this colleague really liked her, invited me over to his house, me, not us, invited me over for a barbecue, and her husband was like, and do you want to go? And she's like, well, I'm thinking about it. And he was like, well, I trust you. You can go if you want to. And she's like, what? What? I'm telling you, this guy likes me, and you're letting me go by myself to his house to have a barbecue. I was like, but I trust you. And and she's like, no, that's not acceptable. And I kind of agree.
Yeah.
There has to be somewhere where you're like, okay, I trust you, but at the same time, you're kind of my wife or my girlfriend. So please don't.
I don't like... You mentioned the word possession, and I think that troubles me. I don't feel comfortable with the idea that you can't go and do this or that or the other because I kind of own you
Oh my
or
goodness.
possess you in some way.
Yeah.
But I can see why in that situation, it's the signal that it sends, really.
Yes, exactly.
It
But,
doesn't,
we're
doesn't-
open to something more happening. Why else would you go?
Yes.
I mean,
You're even acknowledging that it's a possibility. So
Yeah.
why would you jeopardize what we have with that risk?
Yeah.
I suppose.
yeah, but I guess this was somebody trying to show how much they trust the person. But
Yeah,
kind of
that's
sent the
one
wrong
step.
signal.
Did you know a study conducted at the Tilburg Institute in the Netherlands
Mm-hmm.
found that jealousy could be very beneficial for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are looking to change aspects of their lives. So if you're stuck in the status quo and you're happy with things as they are, jealousy is a major disruptor.
Yeah.
And actually is not a good thing. But if you are looking for change, researchers conducted different tests to determine feelings of jealousy motivated in participants, and found that there are different types of jealousy. There's benign jealousy versus malicious jealousy. And benign jealousy causes and inspires you to better yourself.
Exactly.
So your feeling of jealousy, so now I'm jealous about your holiday, might spur me to go home and book one.
And have a fun time. Yeah, exactly.
Or, yeah, well, gosh, if Rama's going on holiday, then at least I can do is I'm going to get out there and enjoy myself during the holiday or whatever. So that benign jealousy is actually a way of helping you to focus your goals,
It
to
moves
get
us
your
forward.
priorities sorted.
Yeah.
Gives you a kick up the backside to actually do things.
Yeah.
Develop awareness about things you want to, if I'm feeling jealous that this person's in this job, then why don't I aspire and put some work into to
hard.
get there myself?
Yeah. But what's the other kind then?
So malicious jealousy is the one that causes feelings of resentment, negativity,
Hostility, maybe.
hostility, arguments, aggression, anger, all of those things that we talked about. So I think that's true as well from my experience. I think when I was in a career where I had aspirations to climb the ladder, I think one of the spurs to that was jealousy. So if you were passed over for a job, or if you saw that somebody had just left and managed to land a really great job somewhere, then that definitely acted as a spur to me. Okay, well, if they can do that, then I definitely can as well. There are opportunities out there, or I'm going to go for this job. I'm going to show that I'm the right person. So I've definitely had both of those, benign and malicious jealousy.
Sometimes I would wish for some of our young people, to have a bit of jealousy, a tad, just a healthy dose where they say, this person is just as intelligent as I am. Why can they get great grades and not me? This would motivate them to do better. And
they do say that, but then their reaction is, if you think about these two things, benign and malicious, they tend to go to the malicious side,
because
which
it's
is
easier.
Yeah, this person's got good grades. That's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's not
because
fair
you
on
like
me.
this person more.
I should have those good grades, but then favoritism, etc. Rather than this is a spur, and I can go and prove and show that I can do this as well. I'm just as worthy. So yeah, interesting. How about malicious jealousy? You said that jealousy is something that's become a little bit more visible, present. But is that benign or is that malicious? Do you find yourself having negative thoughts or aggressive thoughts or angry thoughts related to jealousy?
So I'm hopeful. I think that I'm reflective enough and that I'm wise enough to know how to use that properly. If I feel it, then how can I employ this jealousy to make myself a better person? Or if it's a kind of possessive feeling, to acknowledge it and say, hey, you're being ridiculous. This person has not given you any reason to doubt them or to be jealous or angry. But sometimes I look at it and I'm like, hey, but that shows I care. So I'm happy, So I kind of take the positive out of it and enjoy that and try to keep it in check.
I think that's good. That's kind of a thread from some of the other podcasts as well, about this idea that any emotions, whether it's jealousy or envy or whatever, is a positive thing if you take it and reflect on it and think about how that is impacting you and what you should be doing next about it. as opposed to becoming just bitter.
Have you ever done that?
Being bitter?
Yeah.
Got to think about who's listening to this podcast. I can honestly say that some of the worst moments in my life have been those where I have become wrapped up in malicious jealousy.
Really?
Even relatively recently, where a relationship is over, divorced,
Done.
separate. The idea, not even the fact, the idea of that ex being in a relationship with somebody else fills me, or has filled me, not so much now, but has filled me with intense malicious jealousy.
So what did you do with it? Why is it different now?
I think now I've become more and more stoic.
Okay.
We could talk about the stoic response to jealousy, but part of the benefit of doing this podcast is it's a great way of reflecting on what you really do think.
Yeah.
But a stoic response to that emotion is a good one.
Tell me. What do they think?
Well, let's just stick with the malicious stuff. I don't know of any other emotion apart from rejection. And in a way, rejection and jealousy to me are two sides of a similar coin. Mm-hmm. They're both about something I can't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the rejection is, I want this, and the person who I want it with won't let me have it.
Yeah.
And the jealousy is, but they're giving it to somebody else.
Yes, exactly.
And that's not right. So it's like a seesaw.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible, very difficult to describe emotion that I've really had to work hard to handle because it was destroying me. Honestly, it was destroying me.
Eating you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I think I'm good. I think I'm good, but I can't honestly say I'm over it.
Okay.
So if I was to find my ex-partner was shacked up with somebody else, would I be able to say, what was the phrase I need to say in Syrian or in German? I'm happy.
Ich gönne dir das.
No, I would not be able to say that. I hope your flat burns down. No, oh God, no. I would so like to be able to say, I'm really happy for you, but I can't. Yeah. I'm starting to come out in a sweat. I can feel that I'm not over that.
Yeah, but that's your emotional side saying this. I know the rational side says something else.
Yes. So the stoic response, well, in a way, we should be able to guess what the stoic response to jealousy is.
I'm kind of guessing, so I haven't read that, but I'm kind of guessing that they're going to say, you should not care, you should just move on, and don't let things get you out of your cool, right?
Yes, absolutely. So jealousy, possessiveness, coveting, clinging, there is no place for any of that in Stoicism because there's no time to waste. Okay. You're gonna die. There's no time to waste. So don't waste your time clinging to the illusion that you can control other people, dictate what they do, get them to change their minds, whatever, enforce our will over people. So Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, that's what I'm going to do over the holiday. I'm going to read that book from cover to cover because everything I've read from Meditations is really nice.
Okay.
So I'm going to get back to you on that.
Okay, you're going to be a different person after the holidays.
Yes. Don't set your mind on things you don't possess, but count the blessings you actually possess and think how much you would desire them if they weren't already yours. And I love that quote. I love that too. So I guess it's like count your blessings, isn't it? Yes. Same sort of thing. But absolutely, I love that quote because that's a great way of tackling it. Don't think about what you can't have. Just realise, what would it be like if you didn't have the things you do have?
Yes, exactly. If somebody else was you, how jealous would you be of you?
And somebody you read in a previous podcast, which is Epictetus, when you confine yourself to only those things that are under your control, you cannot be defeated. Don't be fooled by outward appearances. People with more prestige, power, or some other distinction are not necessarily happier because of what they have. There is no reason to be envious or jealous of anyone. If you lead a rational life, the good lies within you. Our concern should be our freedom, not titles and prestigious positions. The way to freedom is not to be too concerned about things we don't control.
Wow. Do you know what this reminds me of? Our talk about social media.
Yeah.
When we were saying that, you know, and so when we go on social media, we see all these other people, all these influencers and people who seem to be having the best life, and then we're like, why not me? You know, how can I have that body and have those trips and we should never compare ourselves to them because.
Well, I wasn't going to bring up social media today because we talked about it quite a lot, but in the context of jealousy. Don't you think that a lot of this entitlement agenda that seems to be rife, we talked about it at length before, so we won't talk about it a lot more, but there's a real strand of jealousy that runs through all of this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, because,
sort of the Karen type thing, or whether it is the ranting or the raving on social media, or whether it is, look at me sort of thing.
Yeah.
All shows an element of jealousy or covetousness or whatever the right word is.
This reminds me a little bit of what Roosevelt said. What was his first name?
President.
No, but
Theodore.
President Theodore Roosevelt. He said, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And I really like
that too.
It's
That's
like,
good.
yeah,
That's
because
nice.
you forget how green your grass is when you look at how green your neighbour's grass is. Whereas
that's
they're both...
a really nice... I think I might have a tattoo of that. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the topics we've covered recently, we haven't had that much scope to look at literature because, authenticity, we found there weren't many poems or whatever.
Yes.
But jealousy...
There's a lot.
There's a lot out there. Is there anything that you want to start with that you found that you particularly liked on jealousy?
So there was one that I liked about jealousy, and I liked it... Well, does it have to be a poem? Because I have a little story for you.
No. Any literature story.
So I found something from, I think it's Jewish folklore.
Okay.
And I loved this story because it's so, it says a lot about human beings. So, and we'll put the link in the show notes so you can go to I think it's a blog where I found it. So there was once a hard-working farmer who fell upon the greatest of gifts. The Lord appeared to this farmer and granted him 3 wishes. But with the condition that whatever the Lord did for the farmer would be given double to his neighbour. Mm-hmm. The farmer, scarcely believing his good fortune, wished for 100 cattle. Immediately he received 100 cattle and was overjoyed until he saw that his neighbour had 200. Mm-hmm. So he wished for 100 acres of land. And again he was filled with joy until he saw that his neighbour had 200 acres of land.
Yeah.
Rather than celebrating God's goodness, the farmer could not escape feeling jealous and slighted because his neighbour had received more than he. Finally, he stated his 3rd wish. That God would strike him blind in one eye. And God wept.
That is such a good description of humanity.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yes. Some people, not all of us, but a lot of us would want to see other people in ruins so we would not feel worse about ourselves. Yeah. But we don't understand that, when other people are happy or good, this will reflect and trickle down to all of us. We will all be happy when, But
that's really powerful.
It just shows
because
when they say...
I don't know what you thought when I heard you reading that. Part of me could understand. Yeah. It's not fair that these are my wishes and he benefits more from my wish. Why should he get twice as many as I did?
Yeah.
I was the one who got the wishes.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Yeah.
But then why not count your blessings and focus on those and just be happy? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's a lot of land and
to
a
go
lot
with the
of cattle.
stoic thing.
Yeah.
I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Why should I care?
Exactly. You're right. I got exactly what I wanted. I didn't wish for 200. I asked for 100.
Why should what I choose for myself be affected by what somebody else is going to get out of it? I mean, what's the point in that?
if you think of what is the first crime on planet Earth, according to
Well, that'd be Eve.
religion. Well, that was in heaven.
Okay.
Right? They were still in Eden
Okay.
when they committed that crime of not obeying God. And
Yeah.
So that was the first crime committed ever. But the first crime committed on planet Earth was when Adam and Eve were banished to Earth. And this is from the Quran, and I'm sure this also appears in the Bible as well, in the scriptures. The first crime is when they had their children, Abel and Cain, and both of them presented their sacrifice for God, and it was only accepted by Abel, I'm guessing. Then Cain felt really jealous of this, and he said to his brother that he was going to hurt him, and his brother said to him, well, if you're going to hurt me, I am not going to hurt you because this is wrong. It's a sin. And so Cain ends up actually killing his brother. And then he's like, oh my God, what have I done? And so he sees a crow that comes, in front of him and buries something or an animal or something. And that's how humanity, according to the Quran, learned how to bury the dead. Like when somebody dies, because nobody had known what to do with a dead body. Oh, apparently you can get rid of a dead body by burying it. And so he buried it and of course regretted it afterwards and stuff. But it's so interesting that the first crime ever committed by man was spurred by jealousy.
Gosh, that's really powerful. Of course it's a genetic thing.
No, it's not.
Well, I did do a bit of research because there's always a scientific explanation. But I was thinking, is there anything in it? Are some people just by nature genetically more likely to be jealous, or is it social construct, or how do you get? What about members of your family? Are you more jealous? I mean, I think I'm not being too out of order by saying I think my mum was a little bit jealous. As a lover or as a... I wouldn't know.
No, but was she jealous with your dad?
I think she was jealous of other people's fortune.
I see, okay.
But I think a lot of people of her generation were.
Okay.
Because there's an awful lot of misfortune, and when other people struck it lucky, there was it's not fair, why didn't I? I had to go through all of this hardship and I never got this or that. But anyway, the green-eyed monster of jealousy may be hardwired into our DNA. So, how would you feel if you suspected your partner had enjoyed a one-night stand while away on holiday without you? Or what if, instead of having sex on that trip, you believed she or he had fallen in love with someone?
Oh, my goodness.
So those are the two scenarios. In either case, if your partner will probably never see that other person again, does that make the situation any easier to cope with? So I'm going to ask you the question, and then I'm going to say what this study sort of came up with about the genetics of it. So if you suspected a partner in a relationship had a one-night stand, so just a physical thing, would that feel different in terms of how you felt about it than if you felt that they've been away and they're falling into a relationship? So, and does it matter that it's over or not? I mean, what do you think?
Rationally, it should not matter so much or as much if it was just physical, because humans are humans and we are creatures of the flesh and we will fall for other people sometimes, and sometimes we are in a situation where we can't control ourselves, and okay, let it go. Rationally speaking, of course, it should hurt a little more if this person actually fell in love with someone, even if they still loved you. But it would hurt because they are capable of loving someone else. They have true, real emotions, not just animalistic desire. However, in practice, I don't think for me personally, it would not make much of a difference. If somebody cheated on me,
you'd kick them out either way.
Would be. I think it would be over.
Yeah, well, I've already said about my malicious jealousy. I'd be a complete train wreck at this point in any of those situations. But anyway, so some research was done by a university to look at whether there was any genetic differences in the way people would react in those different situations or not. So researchers put those questions to more than 3,000 pairs of Swedish twins. You can tell this was a Scandinavian study. 3,000 pairs of Swedish twins. Fraternal twins were about 50%, and identical twins the other 50%. So with different types of twins. And by comparing the answers given by each group of twins, the researchers were able to show that around 1/3 of the differences in levels of jealousy are likely to be genetic in origin.
Wow.
So that's quite a significant difference, isn't it? Your response in both scenarios, this would be interesting to see how you feel. In both scenarios, women reported more jealousy than men. Okay, but the researchers also found there was a gender difference between the relative reactions to the idea of sexual or emotional betrayal between males and females.
Okay, so which one acted more severely?
So men were far more troubled by the thought that a partner had been sexually unfaithful.
Exactly.
Whereas women were equally perplexed by both.
Yeah, exactly.
So isn't that bizarre?
It is very bizarre, but
it doesn't matter if you've fallen in love with him, just don't have sex with him.
But men are so entitled. That's the thing. It's like, somebody had sex with my person, with my wife.
Yes. This is to do with evolution. Evolutionary pressure. Reproduction is the key for both men and women, but men, unlike women, can't be certain that they are the biological parent of a child.
Yeah.
So a woman knows if it's a child, they know that they bore
they gave birth to the child.
So men are naturally much more perturbed about the thought of sexual infidelity than women are. So it jeopardizes the successful transmission of genes. Women, though relatively less perturbed by the idea that their partner may have been sleeping around, are nevertheless dependent on their mate for their survival and that of their offspring. But the Swedish results also show that it's not just your genes, it's the kind of things that happen to us in our lives. There is a cultural context to this.
Upbringing is a big part.
There's a social context as well. So we've got genetic and environmental aspects to it. So
that's why I was going to ask you, are we sure that these twins were all brought up in the same household by the same parents? Because that would also make a difference, you know? Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
But I definitely see the male female difference, and I see where that you can see that through the evolutionary chain. This is to do with, the man is looking to preserve his offspring.
Yeah.
And so he needs to be sure that the female that he's with is the mother of his children, and not anybody else's.
That he's not raising somebody else's child.
And I can see where that fits.
Yeah.
Whereas the woman is more about the support that the male gives to the family setup or whatever.
Yeah.
Is probably as important, if not more important, than the sexual component of it.
Because a lot of women are actually done with the relationship. A lot of women, are staying in it just to not to rock the boat, or because they can't provide for the family. So you feel this a lot sometimes, that, the women are over the relationship, or the spark is gone, and so they're like, whatever, they can go and cheat and do whatever. I've heard that from more women than you think. Yeah. I've never heard it from a man.
I'd be interested. I wish there was a study that showed, at what points in the relationship is jealousy most rife? When do you feel the biggest?
I think when you're most in love. I think when you are in love with someone and you're blindsided that they don't feel the same way, or they are able to fall in love with someone else or betray you, it's a stab in the back. I think that hurts the most. But I know that a lot of women, honestly, I've heard a lot of women say, I would be happy if he cheated or if he found another woman, because at least he would leave me alone. But he would still, provide for us. Yeah.
Interesting. So, yes, I can see that if at a point where I felt really, very, very strong emotional attachment, and then this is a bit like the rejection thing. If I found that my partner was having an affair, I would feel both rejected and jealous at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that combination is a really, really
lethal combination.
Horrible, worst toxic cocktail. But I can also understand that if you've been married, say, for 20, 30 years, you've been together, you're a couple, and then suddenly you find out then that your partner's been having an affair. It might be, as you say, that you're not as in love, but it's the shock. It's the shock to the status quo creates probably a different cocktail.
Yeah.
But equally strong. I mean, you hear about people who've been in relationships for a long time, and then suddenly this thing comes out of the blue, and it completely breaks the other person.
Yeah, it totally does.
They weren't ready for it.
And here, this is a bit of a tangent, but this is something that happened the other day. I went on, I'm going to say this very, very fast, went to dinner with the 3 friends of mine, and then while we were sitting there, a lady comes in with a young man, and then one of the ladies I'm having dinner with goes like, "Oh, this is the wife of my friend." And then we all take turns going to the bathroom, and like except for her because she doesn't want to be seen, to see if
what's happening.
Yes, and they were indeed like kissing and stuff.
No.
And the dilemma was, does she tell him? Because if she told him, he'll be very jealous. This might wreck the relationship. But if she didn't tell him, he would be, happily.
Oh, that is like one of those.
Ignorance is bliss, and it's like that's an ethical dilemma. Do I upset everything and jolt him out of his stupor?
What was your take on that? Do you think it was the right thing to tell him?
So I think I mentioned it in class the other day because I was teaching them about
it's a really great ethical
ethics.
dilemma, isn't it?
Exactly. And I asked them what they would do, and one of them came up with a really brilliant solution. He said, you would go to the person, to your friend, and say, oh my God, the other day I was watching a movie, or a friend of mine was in this problem, in this situation, and then they wondered, should they tell the person or not? And depending on what this person tells you, if they say, oh yes, they should definitely tell the person, then you tell your friend.
That's a good...
And if they say, no, I would not want to upset them, then you don't tell your friend.
Yeah.
And I found that brilliant from a 17-year-old.
I think if it was me on the receiving end, I would be betrayed. I would feel betrayed by my friends if they didn't tell me.
Yeah, because you don't want to be this fool that is living a lie and happy living a lie. And
I probably possibly feel even worse about the idea that there are people wandering around knowing about what's going on.
Yeah, you're being betrayed twice, by your friend and by your person.
I mean, neither of them's a good position, are they? To be fair, but
Anyway,
gosh,
tangent over. I have a. Did you want to tell me something else? But I would like to end with a sweet poem about jealousy. Maybe it's not time for it yet.
I've got. Do we want to talk about religion and jealousy? We haven't really talked about.
Let's do religion.
Yeah. Well, how does jealousy fall for you?
So, other than the story of the first crime committed, that was jealousy. Jealousy is mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, the Quran warns against it. Don't do it. It's a negative feeling. But maybe if this is the general thing, so I'm not going to read to you. And also, there is the story of Yusuf. Joseph. Yeah. Joseph was thrown in a well because his siblings were so jealous of him because he was his father's favorite, and he also was a prophet. So Prophet Jacob was his father, and because of their jealousy, they threw him down the well. Yeah. Pretended that he was dead, and then he was found, and all of that story. So clearly the Quran cautions against it. But I would like to tell you a little bit about the culture of jealousy in Syria, and I think all of the Middle East, because it's fascinating. Yes. So how about you tell me first, because mine is a bit longer. Tell me what the Bible says, and then we can just very quickly talk about what the Bible says. Yeah. Jealousy, like envy, is one of the 7 deadly sins. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbour's. When I said ass, that's a donkey. I was going to say somebody who got a Brazilian... Coveting your maidservant's ass is not what it says. This is in Exodus. For jealousy, that was Exodus. Proverbs, jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance.
envy is the rottenness of the bones.
Ooh.
This is all from Proverbs. So I guess I have no surprises there. I'd always been brought up when I was in the church choir that envy and jealousy, both bad, both a sin. But what I did find was a large number of quotes that described God as the jealous God.
Say
or
what?
a jealous God, which I thought, given it's a sin,
Yeah.
why are we describing in the Old Testament? So, for example, for thou shalt worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God.
Oh my God! So it's not just like the sentiment; it is named.
Yeah,
that
it says,
way.
whose name is jealous. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God.
Oh wow!
God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies.
Isn't wrath a deadly sin as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, whoa, that's pretty powerful stuff, because you don't think of God as having one of those sins and nor being angry or furious and taking revenge. Most of the stuff about God's jealousy comes in the context of the covenant which ancient Israel had made with God, which they were breaking by following other gods. So the jealousy that is being talked about here is God being jealous of other gods being worshipped. What more modern day readers of the Bible take is they take this as a point of reference for other covenants like getting married. So where we promise to be faithful until death. So the marriage relationship, exactly the same as the relationship that God had with the people of Israel, and it was supposed to be faithful and whatever. So that was interesting. Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her, for like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord.
Wow.
So the God being jealous of the unfaithfulness of the people of Israel.
Worshippers, yeah.
Idolatry was taken by God to be adultery, sort of in his relationship.
In a marriage, yeah.
So yeah, that was my little bit of
wow.
a surprise.
I am
take
surprised
on that.
like God described himself as jealous.
Yeah, a jealous God is a revengeful and wrathful God. I mean, that's quite scary.
Because jealousy has to do with the ego. And you wouldn't think that God would describe himself as somebody who's acting out of ego rather than acting out of what's better for the people.
Yeah,
So,
and I always thought of a benevolent and caring and loving God.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
So in the Middle East, it is very interesting how people are super scared of the evil eye of jealousy and envy, mostly envy.
So this is the Fatima's hand.
This is what I mentioned.
The eye on the hand.
Exactly. They call it the
okay.
khamsa. Khamsa means 5.
Yeah.
And so there is like a little blue eye in the middle of the hand. And the hand is kind of like put up so to ward off the evil eye. That's why.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that you see people having in their cars and at home, to ward off the evil eye. But the interesting thing to me, I learned that pretty early on, is that you cannot give somebody a compliment in the Middle East without saying mashallah afterwards. Meaning praise the Lord. Okay. So this is kind of a little prayer for it to last, or that you don't wish it gone, or you don't wish anybody evil.
Yeah.
So one time I was in university and I must have been, 19 or something. I said to a girl that went to university with me, I said to her, oh my God, your skin has gotten so much better. And she was like, okay, thank you. And then the next day she came to me and she's like, remember yesterday when you said my skin has gotten better? Yeah. Well, now I have 2 pimples and it's because you didn't say mashallah yesterday.
Oh gosh.
I looked at her. I could not believe. Like, I am trying to be nice to you, tell you, something that, but honestly, to this day, you have to be really careful. And it's really the dichotomy of me being...
Why do you have to say that?
You have to show them, because they believe very much in the evil eye, that your eye is not evil, that your eye is a loving eye, and you're saying that because you are happy for them, الغبطة rather than envy or jealousy, and you have to say these things. It's really interesting.
Gosh.
So what are the ways that Middle Easterns have to ward off evil? So one of them is this khamsa, with the eye on it, and it's interesting because I think it's more prevalent in like Turkey and other Muslim countries more than in Syria and Egypt and stuff like that. So that's one of them. The other one is reading verses of the Quran. So you will see a loving mother or loving grandparent always like they put their hand on your head and they read to you verses of the Quran, especially if you're sick, because it means that they are trying to like kick out any evil eye or something that happened to you. Burning incense. They always have it, like around the place to kind of purify it from evil or from evil spirits or evil eye. There is something that they do in Egypt that I have seen, which I was really surprised to see that they do in Greece as well, which was fascinating. When they feel that there's something evil happening or somebody is kind of giving them the eye, they kind of go, like they muck spit 3 times, like... And I'm like, I was so surprised to see that this was not just a Middle Eastern thing, but it comes from, other places in the world as well. So that's also very interesting. Mashallah is the most important thing. So tomorrow, if you say to me, Rama, you look great, you have to say mashallah. Otherwise, I might think that you are coveting my luscious hair.
Yes, I see. That's really interesting. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So, from the point of view of music, what do you have for us?
Well,
about
I
jealousy?
was really excited that a lot of the topics we've looked at recently, we haven't really been able to explore music because they haven't lent themselves. There aren't that many. Now's
your chance.
There aren't that many really good songs which are about authenticity.
Yeah.
Living in. Oh no, that's not authentic. Well, okay, but anyway, jealousy. There are so many songs. Well, this is such a great topic for people to write songs about. There have been so many good ones, whether we do John Lennon, Jealous Guy on the Imagine album in 1971. I began to lose control. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry that I made you cry. I'm just a jealous guy. I was feeling insecure. You might not love me anymore. Oh. This is a classic. A guy bemoaning his pathetic behaviour because of his jealousy. There's a great song by Natalie Merchant. I don't know if you know her. She was the singer of a band called the 10,000 Maniacs. But she wrote a great song called Jealousy. Just a little extract from that. Does she talk the way I do? Is a voice reminding you of the promises, the little white lies too? Sometimes tell me while she's touching you. Just by mistake, accidentally, do you say my name? It's a killer, absolute killer song, and I so resonate with that song. I love this song. I saw her sing it in concert.
Did you feel the energy of somebody who's so
it's a killer song.
Torn by jealousy?
Absolutely killer. The best song about jealousy I know... Otherwise, we could do a whole podcast about jealousy music. But you probably don't know this track. But Pink Floyd, classic band, you don't normally think of them as talking about themes like jealousy. They're a bit more sort of psychedelic or ethereal. But anyway, their song from 1969 album called More, is called Green is the Colour. Green is the colour. Green with envy. It's a little bit surreal, but I really like it. Heavy hung the canopy of blue, shade my eyes, and I can see you. White is the light that shines through the dress that she wore. She lay in the shadow of the wave, hazy were the visions of her playing. Sunlight on her eyes, but moonshine made her cry every time. Green is the colour of her kind. Quickness of the eye deceives the mind. Envy is the bond between the hopeful and the damned. And first listen, that's quite deep. What's going on here? But this is kind of making the link between being hopeful but also being damned at the same time, because if you're envious, you're kind of hopeful. You're hopeful. This is what I want. I would like. I'm hopeful. So envy is something wanting something you don't have. So in the lyric, the guy is hopeful of this woman, but he knows that the relationship is unlikely to happen, and so he's being damned for wanting it too much.
Yeah.
And I sort of really, the pain that is in that lyric,
The torment, yeah.
I absolutely get. And it reminds me of when I was a lot younger, when I was into relationships. Of the sort
Before
of,
I swore them off.
Well, you know, when you sort of first get into relationships, I don't know if you found it, but relationships were always really painful.
Yeah.
Because you might be really attracted to somebody and you really, really want them, and you're stuck between these two, between hope and being damned. And when you realise that there is no hope, then you're right over to the other side. You know, envy is the bond between the hopeful and the damned, and I absolutely,
That's lovely.
I absolutely get that. So yeah, if you get a chance when you're
I'm
on your
gonna go
flight,
home.
when you're on your flight to your holiday,
today.
just put green as the colour on the on old Spotify or something.
You mentioned Delilah to me earlier, and
Oh, gosh,
I love that song, but I never really listened closely to the lyrics.
Delilah is an interesting one. Tom Jones, iconic singer in the UK, Welsh icon, recorded in 1968. What you might call a jealousy murder song.
Oh yeah.
Most people don't think of it. They hear Delilah and they
Exactly.
probably don't know the punchline to the song.
Yeah, that's...
So I saw the light on the night that I passed by her window. I saw the flickering shadows of love on her blind. She was my woman. As she deceived me, I watched and went out of my mind. My, Delilah. Why, Delilah? I could see that girl was no good for me, but I was lost like a slave that no man could free. At break of day, when that man drove away, I was waiting. I crossed the street to her house, and she opened the door. She stood there laughing. I felt the knife in my hand, and she laughed no more.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, how about
Goodness.
that?
Did he kill her?
Yes, he did, yeah.
You know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
Reminds me of... What's it called?
Nick
Nick
Cage.
Cage. Nick Cave.
Nick Cage? Nick Cage. He did a combination of lyrics and
Cage.
silos.
No.
Yeah.
Nick Cave, when she says, they call me the wild... What's it called? The Wild Rose.
Wild Rover.
Yeah,
Wild Rose. Yeah.
And when he's like, it had to die. Basically, he was kind of jealous and possessive, and he had to kill her at the same time.
Yes.
It was also very visceral. That song shocked me to the core.
Yeah. So similar to that, interestingly, just to bring the Nick Cave, Tom Jones, make this into something that links up at the end. So that song, Delilah, has been a staple of the Welsh rugby community since 1968. Rugby.
Okay.
The Welsh rugby crowd, because Tom Jones is Welsh.
Okay.
Welsh choirs, the crowd sing Delilah.
Mm-hmm.
My Delilah. So you've got 70,000 people singing this fantastic song.
Yeah.
However, it has been banned by the Welsh Rugby Union. What? The Welsh Rugby Union has banned anybody from singing Delilah in the national stadium.
Is it because it kind of incites violence against women?
Yes, because of allegations of a toxic culture and misogyny within the Welsh Rugby Union. They've responded to claims that this song promotes violence against women by banning it. Because of that last lyric, she stood there laughing. I felt the knife in my hand, and she laughed.
She laughed no more.
Principality Stadium spokesman said Delilah will not feature on the playlist for choirs or music played at rugby internationals at Principality Stadium. Now, I saw a podcast, Louis Theroux, who is great, but Nick Cave was on that, and he was asked about it because he is a proponent of that sort of jealousy, murder, possession. Yeah. And he actually said, I'm so pleased that they banned it.
What?
But I think it was more because he thinks it's a crap song.
Not because he's against the idea.
I'm not sure it was to do with the genre, but more to do with What do you think? Do you think they should have banned it? Or do you
No,
think...
no, I don't think music should be banned. I think it should be maybe cautioned against, but banned, I think that's too harsh. I mean, it's not saying rape or anything, but it's kind of like, I mean, crimes of passion are all over literature, and you know,
Of course. I mean,
we don't
where do you-
ban them.
where
We
do you
don't ban
s-
Othello.
Where do you stop? How far do you go back? I mean... Yeah, I mean, interestingly, another one of Tom Jones's songs, or one of the songs he recorded was "Baby It's Cold Outside," and that has been banned in
I saw
many
that one,
circles
yeah.
because it's seen as a
It's not taking no for an answer.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I can see the reasons why, but on the other hand, I can also see why why they're just.
Come on,
they're
it's
just
art, and you only take art with a pinch of salt, right?
and they're just songs and pop songs, and they're also. They're a testament to the time that they were written in.
Yeah.
And okay, somebody probably wouldn't write that song now, but that was 1968. It's a long time ago.
And also, like me, people were not aware of what the message was, and it was only the last line, So
Yeah.
a lot of people were not really aware that it's kind of, and it's not even encouraging. It's maybe he regrets it. How do we know?
Well, the other thing is that have we got time to talk about the criminal justice system and jealousy?
I think we're running out of time.
Because maybe that's a topic for another thing. But what is definitely the case is that in murder cases against domestic dispute
violence.
cases,
jealousy
is seen as a reason why, a justifiable reason.
Justifiable.
Well, in cases, often a case will be downgraded from murder to manslaughter on the basis of provocation through extreme jealousy.
Oh, passion crime is okay.
Crimes of passion. There have been changes in the legal system to say that is not okay, but it is still referred to and still a part of the defence.
It's certainly not seen as malignant as just like murder, right? Like if you see there's something a little romantic about someone not bearing the idea of their partner being in somebody else's arms and going and doing something about it.
Yeah.
Slightly, I mean, disturbing, but a slightly romantic touch. There is not murderous or
It's romantic
criminal intent.
Yeah.
So shall we finish with this sweet poem that I told you about?
Yes.
Or did you want to say something else before we move on?
No, I think there are so many directions we could go in, but I think now is a good time to sort of. You've got to pack your bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that jealousy
really
still.
jealous.
You're mocking me, I swear.
Yeah. No. Was it
Mashallah.
Mashallah. Mashallah, Rama.
Okay, so this is a poem called A Lover's Envy by Henry van Dyke.
Okay.
I envy every flower that blows along the meadow where she goes, and every bird that sings to her, and every breeze that brings to her the fragrance of the rose. I envy every poet's rhyme that moves her heart at eventime, and every tree that wears for her its brightest bloom and bears for her the fruitage of its prime. I envy every southern night that paves her path with moonbeams white and silvers all the leaves for her, and in their shadow weaves for her a dream of dear delight. I envy none whose love requires of her a gift, a task that tires. I only long to live to her, I only ask to give to her all that her heart desires.
Oh. Yes.
So that's benign jealousy.
It's benign. Yeah, that is positive.
You're jealous of the little things that get to touch her or see her or entertain her because you want to be all of those things.
Yeah, and the envy talked about at the beginning is not sort of. There's no malice in there, is
exactly.
there? That's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
On a positive note. I like that a lot. I really enjoyed that episode.
I did too. I wish we had more
time
time to talk about more things, but I think we covered a lot of ground. Maybe we can take the time now to say thank you to everybody that has been...
Both of you.
The two of you that have been listening.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. We've got a lot of listeners, and it makes us
really
so,
nice.
so happy. It makes us so happy when you say something to us. So always... let us know what you think. It makes our hearts dance.
It does, and it's just good to know that there are people out there, and I don't expect people to necessarily agree or disagree with anything we say. So I'm always interested to get other people's perspectives on anything we say. And I'm really sorry if there are fact checkers out there who find that anything that we might have said is not absolutely 100% true. We do our best, but can't guarantee.
We're still human.
We're still human, yes.
So
but anyway, on that note, have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Mashallah. And we'll see everybody in another week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the readings we chose for you today.
And that our musings have ignited your thoughts.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and those you think would enjoy it.
If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or any kind of feedback, please send us an email using the email in the show notes.
We'd love to hear from you with the words that make you.